When God judges, the earth trembles. Look at what happens to those who dared to challenge God. They refused to listen, then the ground spoke. This is a story of the people that stood against God in the wilderness. For many, many years, the people of Israel had walked through a vast, empty land called the wilderness. Imagine a giant, moving city made of tents, with thousands and thousands of people, animals, and all their belongings. This huge group was guided by God's mighty hand, led by a special cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Their leader was a wise and humble old man named Moses. He was very old now, perhaps close to 90, with a long, flowing white beard and kind, deep eyes that had seen so much. He wore simple, worn robes, always looking a bit dusty from their long travels. His back was straight, showing his strong spirit, even though he carried the heavy burden of leading so many people. Moses was chosen by God himself, and he led the Israelites with great wisdom and patience. Moses' brother Aaron served as the high priest. Aaron was also an old man, with a long white beard and robes that were much more fancy and colorful, made for his holy work. He performed special, sacred duties for God inside the beautiful tent of meeting called the tabernacle. This was a holy place where God's presence stayed among the people. Life in the wilderness was hard. The sun was hot, the ground was dry, and there was always the challenge of finding food and water, though God always provided. They had seen amazing miracles, the Red Sea parting, manna falling from the sky like dew every morning, water gushing from rocks. Yet even with all these wonders, some people started to grumble. The long journey made some hearts weary. The constant rules from God, given through Moses, felt heavy to others. Not everyone was happy with how Moses and Aaron led them. A quiet grumbling, like a low rumble before a storm, began to spread through the camp. People would whisper in their tents at night or complain softly around their campfires. They remembered the good food of Egypt, forgetting the slavery. They saw Moses and Aaron as rulers, not as God's servants. Korah's plot and the confrontation among the people was a powerful and respected man named Korah. He was from the tribe of Levi, just like Moses and Aaron, which meant he already had an important job serving in the tabernacle. He had dark, neat hair and a strong, proud face, often holding himself with an air of importance. He wore nice, deep blue robes that showed his high position. But Korah wanted more. He believed Moses and Aaron had too much power, too much say. He felt a deep sense of injustice, thinking they put themselves above everyone. Korah wasn't alone. He found other leaders who felt the same way. Two brothers, Dathan and Abiram, from the tribe of Reuben, were especially important. They were also in their 40s, with firm, stubborn looks and simple, strong, brown tunics. They often stood with their arms crossed, showing their defiance. Along with these brothers, Korah got 250 other respected leaders, all well-known men chosen from the different tribes. These men were also in their 40s, with calm, determined faces and matching gray tunics. They felt important and thought they deserved more say. One fateful day, Korah and this large group of leaders gathered. They formed a defiant crowd and walked straight to where Moses and Aaron were. Korah stepped forward, his voice strong and accusing, echoing through the camp. "You have gone too far," he declared, looking straight at Moses, who stood with a deeply concerned and worried expression, his shoulders slightly slumped under the weight of this challenge. Aaron, by Moses' side, also looked concerned, but remained calm. Korah continued, "The whole community is holy, every single person among us, and the Lord is with all of them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly? You act like you are the only ones special to God." Moses' heartbreak and God's challenge. When Moses heard these angry words, he was heartbroken. He knew this wasn't just a challenge to his leadership, it was a challenge to God himself. Moses, the old man with the long white beard, fell to his face on the ground, his shoulders shaking, praying silently to God, feeling the heavy burden of his people's rebellion. After a moment, filled with a strength that came from God, Moses stood up. His face, still framed by his long white beard and hair, was now firm and resolute, with a subtle, faint glow that sometimes appeared when he had been close to God. He looked at Korah and the others. "Listen, you Levites," he said, his voice steady. "Is it not enough for you that the God of Israel has chosen you, set you apart from the rest of the community, and brought you near him to do the important work in the Lord's tabernacle? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites close to him. But now, not content with that, you want to be priests too." Moses then gave them a test to see whom God truly chose. "Tomorrow morning," he declared, "let each of you take your censers, those special metal dishes for burning holy incense. Put fire in them and incense on top. Then bring them before the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle. The man the Lord chooses will be the truly holy one. You Levites have truly gone too far in your demands." Moses then sent messengers to Dathan and Abiram, wanting to speak with them directly. But these two brothers, standing proudly at their tents, refused to come. They sent back a defiant message. "Isn't it enough that you brought us out of a land that was flowing with milk and honey, Egypt, where they felt secure despite being slaves, only to kill us here in this wilderness? And now you want to rule over us like a prince? No, we will not come up to you." They accused Moses of failing them and trying to be a king without reason. When Moses heard this, his anger burned fiercely. He knew beyond doubt that this was a deep rebellion, not just against him, but against the very authority of God. He cried out to the Lord, "Do not accept their offering. I have not taken anything from these people, not even something as small as a donkey, nor have I ever done any wrong to any of them." The morning of judgment. The next morning, a chilling tension hung heavy in the air over the sprawling camp. Everyone knew something big was about to happen. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, along with the 250 leaders, all gathered. Each man held his smoking censer, its fragrant smoke rising into the calm morning air. Their faces set in grim determination. They stood right at the entrance of the tabernacle, ready for their challenge to God. Moses, the old leader with the long white beard and dusty robes, his face solemn and deeply troubled, stood there with Aaron. Suddenly, a brilliant, overwhelming light burst forth over the entire assembly. It was the glory of the Lord, appearing as a radiant, golden cloud, casting long, stark shadows across the tense crowd. A powerful voice, the voice of God, spoke to Moses and Aaron from within the cloud. "Separate yourselves from this assembly right now, so I can instantly put an end to them." But Moses, the old man with the white beard, and Aaron immediately fell to their faces on the ground. They cried out, pleading with God, "O God, the God who gives breath and life to every living thing, will you be angry with this entire community when only one man or a few men are truly responsible for this sin?" God listened to Moses and Aaron's plea. He told Moses to command the people, "Move back! Quickly move away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses immediately rose, his face still grave, and walked toward the tents of Dathan and Abiram, followed by the wise elders of Israel. He spoke to the massive crowd that was watching nervously. "Move away from the tents of these wicked men," he warned, his voice ringing with urgency. "Do not touch anything that belongs to them, or you will be swept away and suffer because of all their sins." The people, filled with a deep fear, listened. They quickly moved away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, creating a wide, empty space around them. Dathan and Abiram themselves, still defiant, had come out and were standing firmly at the entrances of their tents. Their wives, children, and little ones stood rigidly beside them, their small faces filled with confusion and fear, but still showing their parents' stubborn stance. The earth opens its mouth. Moses then spoke again, his voice echoing with God's absolute authority, a chilling certainty in his words. Moses, the old man with the long white beard and dusty robes, his face now completely resolute, with a strong, visible glow around his head, pointed directly at the defiant group. "This is how you will know beyond any doubt," he declared, "that the Lord God himself has sent me to do all these things, and that this was not something I decided on my own. If these men die a normal, natural death, like all other people eventually do, then the Lord has not truly sent me. But if the Lord brings about something completely new and terrifying, if the earth itself opens its mouth right now and swallows them whole, along with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the grave, into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have truly despised and insulted the Lord God himself. As soon as Moses finished speaking these incredibly powerful words, a horrifying sound filled the air. The dry, cracked ground directly beneath Dathan and Abiram, their tents, their families, and all their possessions, began to violently crack and rip apart. A massive, jagged fissure spread rapidly, dust boiling up from the newly opened chasm. Their faces, which moments before were defiant, contorted in sudden, absolute terror. Their eyes widened, their mouths opened in silent, petrified screams. They began to sink slowly, helplessly, into the gaping dark abyss. Their simple clothes were pulled down into the swirling dust and darkness. Their tents, their animals, every single thing they owned, was dragged into the monstrous hole. The earth then slammed shut with a deafening, powerful tremor that shook the entire camp. A chilling silence followed, leaving only a jagged, fresh scar on the dry ground where their tents and families had stood moments before. They were gone, erased, fire and fear. A terrifying collective scream of pure horror echoed through the entire Israelite camp. All the Israelites who had been standing nearby fled in absolute panic at the terrifying sight and the screams of those dragged down. They shouted, "The earth is going to swallow us too! Run! Run!" And then, as a final, dreadful judgment, a brilliant, supernatural fire, glowing with an ethereal blue-white light, burst forth directly from the Lord. This divine fire rushed across the ground and instantly consumed the 250 men who had offered the forbidden incense with Korah. Their faces, frozen in terror and disbelief, were briefly lit by the unnatural flames as the fire engulfed them, quickly turning them to dust. The rebellion was crushed in a way that no one could ever forget. It was a terrifying and undeniable sign from God himself. To rebel against his chosen leaders, Moses, the old man with the white beard, and Aaron was not just rebellion against men, but a direct rebellion against God. A deep, holy fear settled over the entire community that day, a powerful and lasting lesson etched into the very ground they walked on. The authority of Moses and Aaron, as God's chosen servants, was now clear to all. Are you brave enough to look deeper into the stories that haunt humanity? Subscribe to our channel now and follow us for more. The mostly untold stories, judgment and consequences in the Bible you never knew happened.